Greetings everyone and welcome to Bio 163, Basic Human Anatomy and Physiology, where you'll have an introduction to the structure and function of the human body, and by the end of this course we will have covered all 11 organ systems and we will have a good overview of how the human body works. Now this is our Moodle shell and this has many important things that pertain to the course. So for example, you'll find over here on the right hand side the documents pertaining to the course, including the syllabus, the grading criteria, and the projected course timeline. Both of these two are also contained within the syllabus, but if you want a quick reference, you can find them here. You will also find course announcements and things that are important overall. So for example, this afternoon I updated the syllabus and the course timeline and so forth. So I put an announcement up here so that everyone can see it, so that for those of you who may have logged on and picked these things up before 302 may want to go back and get the updated versions. We also have this little tab right here, Start Here, and this gives you a couple of things that are going to be important for, first of all, verifying that you have enrolled in the course. And this is a census assignment. So you have to complete this assignment by June 1st to be counted in the census and not be dropped from the course. Anybody who does not complete the first assignment, which is very simple, will be dropped from the course automatically by June 1st if it's not done by then. Then we have our academic integrity quiz. This has to be done by May 29th. And this is important because it simply lets us know that you agree to the academic integrity policy, basically stating that you won't cheat. We have the Connect login instructions. This is a very short video that's going to pertain to the use of the publisher's portal. And the publisher McGraw-Hill portal here is going to allow you to use the electronic textbook and have access to a lot of your assignments. Now, one of the things about this course, it is a lecture and laboratory course. So let's take a look at how the course is broken down. So for our lecture section or lecture portion of the class, we will have 5 units. And each unit will cover between 3 and 4 chapters. At the end of that unit, we will have an exam that covers all the relevant material within that unit. So we will have 5 lecture units with 5 exams, but there is no cumulative final. You also get one break in that, let's just say you really bomb an exam and you do very poorly on it, or something happens and in the worst case scenario you actually miss the exam. Well, you get to drop your lowest grade. So if you have a really bad exam and you think, oh no, my course is over, I can't possibly do well now, take heart, because as long as you only do poorly on one exam, as long as you can do well on the other exams, that will bring your grade up because you get to drop your lowest grade. The second part is the lab part. So we have 2 lab units, and each one of these is concluded with a lab practical. And one of the important things is about the lab practical is you can't drop either one of them. Both of them are important, and both of them will cover the material in each of the lab units. So when we go back over to Moodle, we will see that the units in the Moodle timeline are arranged about when they occur and about when we're going to be tested on things. So a lot of these units, these lab and lecture units, the ones that we're already started on, you can see. So you can see lab unit 1 here, and you can see lecture unit 1. Some of the others are hidden from you because we're not there yet. And some of these resources have not yet been uploaded. But as we move through the course, you will see these units become open, but you'll see that our lecture units 1 and 2 are contained between lab unit 1 and lab unit 2. So when we look at the timeline of the course in general, we see that we have our second lecture exam on the 17th, and we have our first lab practical on the 19th. So really, lab unit 1 will happen about the same time that lecture units 1 and 2 will be happening. And then by the time we start our lab unit 2, we will have started our lecture unit 3, 4, and 5. So if we look at our schedule here, our final exam, or I should say our last lecture exam, it's not cumulative, will occur on July 21st, which is the last day of the course, and the practical will occur on July 20th. Since this is an online course, one of the important features of it is access to the publisher website. So when you got your book, you got an access code. And you will have instructions here in the Start Here that tells you how to set up your Connect login. But when you do, then you will have access to the portal. And you can click this link to get to the portal. And I put this link up at the top of the Moodle shell so that you can see it. Now let's have a look really quickly at how this comes into play, because a lot of our assignments will be in the Connect portal. So when it says Connect module, for example, here, that means that this particular assignment will be found within the Connect module, and we'll show you how to access that in just a moment. So let's look at the lecture unit. One of the things that you'll notice is each chapter has with it a graded Connect module. And this is important because the Connect module is what's going to help you study. Not only does it make you read the textbook, answer questions, there are homework assignments in there, but it's going to prepare you for the exams. So if you stick with the program and you study every day and you complete the Connect modules, then you'll be well prepared to take the exam. These are graded. However, it's not like a test or an exam, and we'll look at how this works in just a second. If you do all of your Connect modules, this is worth 20% of the lecture portion of your grade or 12% of your entire grade. So long as you complete these things by their deadlines, then you will get credit for 12% of the class. And you have to do every single one by the deadline. And you'll notice that the deadlines are always the day before the exam. So you get all that time to finish each one of these. So you can keep coming back to it and working on it until the time that we've set aside to take the exam for that unit. Now, what's important about this is that when you work on these modules, it's sort of an interactive thing, and it will reintroduce material to you that you are unfamiliar with or are having difficulty with. And so it's one of those things that as long as you keep up with them, you will get credit for them. And whenever you see something that says graded Connect module, this means that it counts for your grade. If you see something that says Connect module, but it's not graded, that means it won't count towards your overall grade. However, in the case when you see them associated with labs, you need to do them because they will prepare you for your lab practical. And they contain very important exercises, usually also exercises similar to the ones that you find in the lab manual, or will answer questions about any exercises you have in the lab manuals. So as long as you do these, then you will be well prepared to take the lab practical. You'll also find some other virtual laboratory experiments, and these are literally what they say, virtual lab experiments. This is where you can click on chemicals on the screen, pick them up, put them in a reaction, and these kinds of things. So we will see that these will be quite useful. And while you may not get a grade on some of them, you will learn a lot by doing them, and they will prepare you for the lab practicals. You also have other resources here. For example, we have videos that you can click on and go to and watch. But probably one of the most important things that you will do in this class is to work on your Connect assignments. So you access them here. And this link here will tell you how to set up your account, as we've said. But once you do, you'll be brought to a portal page like this, and then you hit Connect, and it will take you to your page, and your view will look something like this. So here we can see our lab unit and lecture unit 1. So things pertaining to these parts of the course will be found in these areas. And of course, these will be added to as we progress through the course, as will the tabs in the Moodle shell. So a lot of things that will be added to the tabs in the Moodle shell will reference things that are here. So Lab Unit 1 will contain things that are referenced by Lab Unit 1 in the Moodle shell. Lecture Unit 1 will contain things that are referenced by Lecture Unit 1 in the Moodle shell. So where it says graded Connect module in the Moodle shell, this is where you find them. So for example, let's have a look at one of them. What it will do is it will pop up this interface, and you can choose to read first, which I highly suggest you do. And you can read the chapter here, and then you can practice. And so basically it will start to ask you questions about parts of the chapter that you have read. And then you can rate how well you think you know your answer. You might be scratching your head, I think I know that. Or maybe you're not so sure. Or maybe you're absolutely positive. Or maybe you have no idea. Or perhaps you want to go back and read about it in the book. And so it will load the relevant material here. And then it will talk about that subject so that when you're ready, you can return to your practice and then you can say, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. And then it will tell you how you did. Now, if you miss one, it's not a big deal because it will reintroduce that question to you in some form later in the module, so that by the time you have completed the Connect module, as long as you complete it, you will have answered all of the questions correctly. Now let's go quickly over the grading criteria. The lecture portion is worth 60% of your overall grade, and the laboratory portion is worth 40% of your overall grade. You have 5 exams pertaining to each one of the lecture units for the lecture portion, and all of them will be 80% of your grade for the lecture. So basically, it'll be 48% of your entire grade. And then you're going to have your Connect modules, which will be 20%, and that's all of the Connect modules, 20% of your lecture grade, which works out to be 12% of your entire grade. Our laboratory portion will be worth 40% of our overall grade. And so the breakdown here is we're going to have 2 practical exams, but we're also going to have 12 quizzes sort of interspersed throughout our laboratory modules. And you'll find that these can take many forms. They can be a classic quiz where you just are given a bunch of questions and you're expected to know them, or it could take the form of some kind of assignment. But in any case, you will have 12 quizzes, and the 10 highest ones will count, so the lowest 2 will be dropped. There again, that gives you some leeway in case you miss one, you forgot about one, or something like that. And so we can look at the breakdown a little bit more here so that you can see that each of your 10 highest quizzes will be 2% of your entire grade. Each lab practical will be 10% of your entire grade. So here is your breakdown. Each of your lecture tests will be 4% of your entire grade. Now, the way we grade in this course is a 10-point scale. So A is between 90 and 100, B is 80 to 89, C is 70 to 79. And if somebody's sitting on the edge and they're an 89.51, well, then we'll round up. If they're an 89.49, then we round down. And that person would have a very high B, but a B nonetheless. So just to let you know that we do have to put the cutoff somewhere, so we always round to the nearest whole integer. Now, these grades will be put into Moodle as we continue through the course. However, Moodle, especially the way we're using it now and adding assignments and adding graded items as we go, it's absolutely terrible at trying to calculate your overall grade. So do not rely on Moodle to calculate your overall grade for you. Each of the items that are graded will be correct in Moodle. So if it says, lecture exam 1 and it gives you a grade, that will be your grade for the lecture exam. However, if you see course total over on the side, pay no attention to it because more than likely it will not be up to date. Now you can use this weighting to be able to calculate your grade at any time. What I always do is I make a spreadsheet in Excel and I can always keep running tabs on the grades. Last but not least, we should go over the things in the syllabus that we haven't already covered. So for example, you can find information on how to get in touch with me. So you can reach me by email, or you can reach me on my cell phone, and you can make an appointment to talk to me. We can either have a phone consultation, or you can meet me online, and we can use Microsoft Workgroups, which is part of Microsoft 365, Office, all of that. And we can actually talk online, face-to-face, using the computer. And I can even do screen shares and the like so that maybe I can go over things with you online that you would not otherwise be able to see over the phone. We also have our student learning outcomes here so that we can know exactly what the goal of the course is. We have our grading criteria, which we've already been over. And we can also see pertinent information, for example, about policies, about our division chair and our department chair, so that if you need to get in touch with them for any reason, you can get in touch with them. Some school policies like Title IX. This is an anti-discrimination policy. What to do if you feel that there's some kind of discrimination. We have a student complaint policy. What to do in the event that you have a complaint, and links to access that resource. We have what to do in the case of a technical failure, withdrawal policies. We also have the student equity policy is reviewed here. We also have basic etiquette in electronic workspaces. For example, no spamming, no advertising. Don't come online and start trying to sell Mary Kay or something or anything. So make sure that we keep our discussions online pertaining to the course. There's also tutoring. So this gives you information on how to get tutoring. We also have some study habits, advice, this kind of thing, turnaround policies, some information about Spark. And as you know, Guana Dixon is your Spark coordinator. And then we have 2 Spark leaders for this class who will be guiding you twice a week in Spark sessions where we can review the material that you see in the course. Now, you are expected to spend a lot of time in this course, obviously, because it's a very intense course and it's taking place in half the time that we would usually do it, so 8 weeks instead of the 16 weeks. So a lot of that has already been outlined in the discussion about the course modules. So here we have our projected course timeline, both for the lecture and for the lab. Should be exactly the same as the quick reference version that you can get on the side of the Boodle shell. Then we have some laboratory rules and etiquette. And while we are not going to be in the laboratory, these are very important because they pertain to just about any laboratory that you could ever work in. So just real common sense things like if you're in a lab, keep your hair tied up. Don't wear clothes that can fall into an experiment. This would be bad, like scarves and the like, or dangly sleeves. Don't wear dangly jewelry. And I definitely wouldn't wear any jewelry that I cared about into the lab because it can get tarnished. It can actually become part of the experiment if you're not careful. So always be careful what you bring into the lab. Don't bring anything into the lab that you really would want to keep nice, including clothing. Another thing you have to be very careful about is, especially when you're in a biological lab or a chemistry lab, some of these things are toxic that are in the lab, so you don't want to be bringing food in there. Food and drinks are absolutely forbidden in any biological and chemistry lab. You don't want to be applying makeup in the lab or lip balm or anything like that. Obviously, you don't want to be sniffing chemicals in the lab, and you also need to be very careful because some chemicals, if you did that with potassium cyanide, it would kill you. So you have to be extremely, extremely careful. There are ways to go about running reactions, and for each lab experiment that you will do, your instructor, be it chemistry instructor or biology instructor, will brief you on the correct way to run the experiment so that you don't inadvertently make a mess or worse. One final thing that's quite important is if you have a disability that can affect your academic performance, you need to seek the accommodations as soon as possible in the course and get that sorted out so that we can give you extra time on tests or whatever it is that you need. So if you need to do that, then call extension 50157 as soon as you can and fill out the form and turn that in to me as soon as you can so that I can make the necessary arrangements. And that concludes our overview of the course and the course resources.